Amazing. And I can see you.
Yes. Can you hear me
See
too?
I can see and hear you. And I can see all of your figurines right back there.
Yeah, yeah.
That is all of them. How many are there?
A lot more than I thought initially. This little display a while ago, I think there's like maybe 100 or so up there, and I was like, oh, there's got to be like that's plenty of room for them, and then some more in the future.
Hmm.
Started putting them up there, and like I made it through barely a quarter of them, and there's still like just hundreds in a drawer still, so a lot more
This
than I.
must be why that you come up with the most creative little watch sets. And that's all you can say it's like a watch set because they're doing things with the watch or they're doing things that involves it or like the loom will be glowing and it's like radioactive or something. It's very fun.
Right.
Right. So I really want to get into the interview, but before I do, could we do a wrist check and could you tell us your wrist size?
Yes, certainly. So I've got the, let's see, where is it? The Oris
Or
Cupcake
it's
one. Yeah, the nice bronze
so
base one.
pretty.
So about a 7-inch wrist, I think. I've never like officially measured it, but somewhere in that neighborhood, I think.
Hmm.
But yeah,
Nice. It's only 1 inch bigger than mine.
nice.
Uh, I have a Omega Pro Prof,
Ooh, there you go.
and I haven't been wearing it for a little bit. I lent it to my dad because he really,
Nice,
really likes it. So it's been nice to have it back, honestly,
nice.
with
Is
that
that
shark
the
magic
steel one or the
laces.
titanium one?
Yeah. So I would love to get more into the Lego side of things, but before we do, what got you interested in watches initially?
So probably, I think my background is in engineering essentially, and it's kind of how things work like that. So I've always had like passing interest in them. But I remember years ago, I don't even know how long ago it was now. We were walking through a mall, and there was a fossil store.
Hmm.
So the cheap basic ones that usually get people hooked, and they had like a skeleton style one where you could just see the whole mechanism inside of it, and like that was all it was. And I was like, that's the coolest thing ever. Like I didn't know that's
Hmm.
what was inside some of these. So I got that one, and then I just kind of got more interest in figuring out how they work, explore more brands, and then just kind of snowball from there. Really.
You know, it's kind of actually similar to my story in that my initial watches were actually swatches, but my first like fashion watch or like my first like watch when I was older, where it was more than telling the time, it was a fossil as well. So I went
Nice.
through a few swatches and then went to a rectangular fossil that my mom didn't wear anymore. And then I got super into watches. So I like that progression. And you saw the inside, and so you were like, okay, there's more to watches than just meets the eye. What are some of your favorite movements or some of your favorite watch brands that actually like showcase the inner workings?
Yeah, I unfortunately don't have too many anymore that do showcase inner workings. I used to have a number of them. I used to like the skeleton dials and all that, but
Hmm.
lately kind of gravitated more towards the kind of tool watch, dive watch, field watch style.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, there's not too many that also showcase the inner workings, at least not in my price range anyway. But I mean, even on the
Yeah.
smaller side of things, I've got like one of the Seagull um, chronographs, the 1963 chronographs, and on the back of it you can see the whole movement
Hmm.
there. So I mean, just even things like that. Doesn't have to be anything super fancy, as long as you can see the movement and it. You know, I don't particularly care if it's highly decorated. Of course, it's nice if it is, but it's just fun seeing all the little gears and the
It
inner
is.
workings. So
Or even just the rotor going around.
yeah. Hmm.
So your personal collection has evolved over time from something that started with the fossil, started with skeletonized dial. Now you're getting into tool watches. So can you tell me like what do you think about your collection now, and like how are you growing it if you're growing it?
Yeah,
Can't buy
I'm
watches
pretty
forever, but
happy kind of with where things are at now for the most part. So I've got, a couple dive watches and then recently just added like a couple field watches here and there. And I've kind of noticed that I've just sort of stopped looking at watches online because like, for a while you spend some time on Joma Shop and all the other various sites like that, just browsing through things that they
mhm.
have there or all the different articles and kind of wondering like, should I get this next? What could I sell to replace this one?
No.
And stuff that everyone does. But
Hmm.
lately, I'm kind of good with where things are at this point. So right
Hmm.
now, it's a case of just if something cool happens to catch my eye, then I'll start thinking about it. But
Hmm.
I'm not really actively going after anything at the moment, which is nice for
It,
a change.
it does feel good. That's kind of where I am right
Yeah.
now. So I want to get more into Lego with you. Before I do you have any watches within reach from your collection or that you're like staging for photography currently that we
Yeah.
can see?
Yeah. So this is probably, I think this is my newest one. So it's the Boulder Venture.
I really like the case shape
And
and like the basically non-existent lugs are really fun. Is it
right.
is it on a NATO or what type
Yep.
of strap
So it's on a
is that?
giant NATO. So like Anchor has these new NATOs where it's got like the like the Omega style deployant that just folds
Oh,
over
I like that.
and
You mean like this? Just folds over on this Omega?
it just like it. So yeah,
Yeah,
that's fun.
that's
Little
cool.
fun. Mm-hmm.
Do you have others around there?
Yeah, this is kind of my recent dive acquisition. So the new Tag Aqua Racer, the green one.
Yeah.
So that's
You
pretty
can't
much
really
my
tell that it is green
thing.
on the screen, but the green is really pretty. Hold it up again if you could, and we'll see if we can see some of the screen. The
Probably.
yellow helps a little
Some
bit,
of it.
but yeah, you can see it. Yeah, nice.
That is what I like because
Um,
it's a more subtle green. Like even in some like dimmer lighting, it's just almost black. So it'll
yeah, I mean my Grand Seiko is green, but it's the summer special edition that came out in 2019, and it looks black in a lot of lights. Unless you're out in the sun or you're directly in like a light, you're
hmm.
not going to see the green. So I get that.
Do you have that one nearby?
I don't. Dude, I have a little bit too many watches.
Is
Just,
there really such a thing?
no, no. I think that's what we found. Thanks, Watches and Kicks, for joining for a bit. Good night. See you soon. But so I would love to hear a little bit more about how you started your watch account because it's about photography. You have your figurines in it. It's very much so about storytelling. So could you tell us more about that?
Yeah, I think I started. I think maybe 4.5, 5 years ago now. I think it was kind of summer of 2020, probably, where I had just got like a couple cool watches at that point. Like I got a new Oris at the time, and I think some Seiko SKX, the one with the yellow dial on it. So I don't
The
entirely
one that you
remember
did the
what.
Minions photo with?
Yeah,
Yeah,
probably. I don't really
probably.
remember what took me to like Instagram in the first place, but I kind of saw online people just kind of taking and sharing cool photos of watches. So I was like, oh, I could, take some cool photos and probably try to find some, friends in the hobby essentially, because at the time nobody that I knew was into watches. It wasn't like a thing in my friend group
Mhm.
at all, so I had no one to talk to about them. So that's probably what mostly drove me to like Instagram and social media, just to kind of find some people to, just talk watch with essentially. So
Honestly, like this. I mean, I know you through Instagram, so
yeah,
and I've met people in person through Instagram where I'm like, hey, I'm in your city. You want to hang out? They're like, yeah. Do we have anything in common aside from watches? No, but is that enough? Oh,
doesn't
yeah. Hanson Cogs, who I've actually met in the UK, he asked, where in the States are you both? I'm in Washington State on the West Coast.
yeah. I'm in Michigan, kind
So
of
Michigan,
with
Washington.
or so.
If you ever go to the UK, I have a lot of connects there, including Hands and Cogs. So let me know. So let's get into Legos a little bit because I just did my first Lego set, like official complete Lego set this summer. It was just the rose bunch.
Okay.
I don't know if you've ever seen it. It's just like I just made a bunch of roses and I loved it. So can you tell us more about your history with Lego,
Yeah.
your first set? Um, yeah, how that came before watches or with watches.
How's that your first Lego set? as a kid?
No. Well,
Never
like
had?
technically I'd kind of like played a little bit of it with my brother or like with people where I'm just like, oh, I'll put a few blocks together. But that was my first actual set.
Okay.
And I should also have that near me, and I do not. But I'll post it on my Instagram with a photo and tell people to check you out with it. But it was fun.
Right?
Yeah.
It definitely can be.
And like they give you little histories with each of them. It was like roses meant this through history. And I was like, I'm learning a little lesson while I'm building a rose set. This is great. It's never gonna die. Never gonna lose the red in the petals, you know? Anyway, sorry.
No.
Maybe that's kind of funny, but can you tell me and us more about your history with Lego?
I mean, it's been as far back as I can remember. I mean, from my baby videos when I was 2, 3 years old that my parents took. I've gotten kind of my first Lego sets back then, and I'm pretty sure I still have those exact same ones. I even still have some of the boxes that they came in when they came in those cool like Lego shaped buckets. So
Do you remember what your first was?
not exactly. I mean, who remembers from that age? But I mean, I think
Yeah, from that age.
was kind of just one of those generic buckets of just bricks that just comes with like a bunch of pictures of ideas, and you just do whatever you
Mhm.
want out of them. So
Were there any first watch figures that like stood out to you? Little figurines that were like, oh, this is fun.
probably the little spacemen ones from back in the day when they had like those all those different themes and sets that they had back then that really need to make a comeback. But
Mhm.
I do remember those figures were cool to play around with. Pretend it's a dude floating in space and you make a little car for him, and all kinds of things.
Are any of them the same little space ones that you're using now, like the space helmet with the skeleton head, or not
Yeah,
skeleton, but like kind of glowing green head? Yeah, pull some forward.
I think I've got a
Also,
couple. This is
hola
probably one of
Pablo.
the old original ones that I've got. So
So
of course,
fun with the
on it.
green helmet lens.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've got a number of the old ones
Yeah.
still kicking around.
Show me some of your oldest and some of your favorite.
Favorite's a hard one because I mean, let's see, we got the classic space ones, of course, more little
Yeah.
spacemen. Those are always
Do you have your iconic one with the little clock on the tummy?
of course. That one's got its own
He has
little
his own
survival.
stand.
He does.
That's even better.
Yeah,
Do you guys see
got
this?
his own
Does
camera
he have a
roll.
golf club?
No, it's a camera.
Oh, it's a camera. Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Very fun.
he's the
And
one that's here, and then there's I don't know if you saw, but there's the other one that I made that is
show us,
traveling
please.
currently. So
Could you show us
what's that?
the latest one?
The latest one is actually traveling the world currently. So
Oh, where is it now?
he's in Canada at the moment. So he's bounced around a couple U.S. states on the East
Can you
Coast,
send him
running
out
from first.
to Washington? I can send him to New York next. I have
So
lots of peeps out
quite a
there.
few people in Washington on the schedule. He's basically kind of going
Are there?
world. So he's going from Canada. He's going to go to England, a couple places there throughout Europe, hit up Asia, and then kind of come back on the West Coast.
Nice. Well,
So
let me know when it's out here.
yeah,
Because one, I would love to see it, and two, I have some watch friends out here, including Elena, who's this watchmaker
yes.
who has like this mini lathe, and she's been working on her own watch dial, but she also works for local brands. It's very cool.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, moving on to the next question. How did you find the intersection between Lego, watches, photography?
So I think kind of going back to the when I kind of started getting on Instagram, initially I'll start with, here's a wrist shot or here's a watch sitting on a table kind of
Yeah.
thing. But when I was in the office at work, I had a little display next to me of it was like a date block, so you can change the dates based on what day it is, and the block has the numbers on it that is made out of Lego. So I had that with me, and there's a little Lego figure sitting in the middle of it. So one day I was just like, what if I think I was trying to position the watch basically somehow to make it slightly more interesting, so it's just not sitting flat there.
Hmm.
So I was like, what? Just kind of like stick him under here, and like he's propping up the watch, to kind of tilt it at an angle and make it look cooler. So I think that's pretty much how it started from there. And I was like, oh, this is kind of fun. We can make little scenes out of this one, do something a little bit different than the typical shots you see out there every day.
Yeah. And yours are also always so fun that it like makes me happy to see them. Also, I like the way that you use loom as if it's like night or radioactive or something. And you had your whole Scooby series recently as well. And you
Yeah,
actually added some text to those posts,
yeah,
like little
yeah.
comments and stuff. How did you come up with that?
So there's a friend on Instagram over in England, P&L Watch Collection there, who started doing that with. He has like or he used to, I think he still does. Little every Monday has like a little kind of scene essentially going on. And there was a time when I think Instagram kind of like sort of banned his account where he couldn't really like post or comment anymore, but he could still post pictures, but it wouldn't let him comment. So what he said he did is he just, put the captions that he had in the comments before, he just put them right into the picture as speech bubbles. And I was just like, that's, a great idea. So I kind of
Yeah,
basically stole with him, and I think it's a lot easier because some people don't read the caption, and you have a lot of people who are like confused by what the scene was trying to do because if you don't read the whole caption and get the story of it. So I was like, let's just borrow this idea, put the speech bubbles right in there. So I
I
think
like it.
they're okay for
I
my
just
first,
like
that's
it
my
a
first
lot.
attempt at it. So
Um,
yeah.
Are there any other watch photographers or people like you were just talking about whose art inspires you?
There's a couple. So I think when I started, there really wasn't anyone else doing it at the time. I found some old hashtags of people that had kind of been around. There was one friend, I think he was in Germany, who was kind of using Lego a little bit there. But
Mm,
lately, it's kind of grown a little bit more. I think more people started using it. Good friend Oscar, who's in Spain, watches some Legos, so he'll
I,
occasionally throw
I
some
know
Legos
him.
in there. So I think it's spreading. It's a lot more fun to kind of see people's ideas and people's take on it. So plus it's also a good source of extra ideas and inspiration
Yeah,
sometimes. So
yeah.
yeah,
And like RoboStans just said in the comments for the live, storytelling is the best part.
absolutely. Yeah.
Are there any watch brands or complications that you particularly like? Is there anything that you look for in a watch?
I think these days I like having a dive bezel on it most of the time because it's a simple way to just quickly time whatever you may be doing if you're something on the stove or on the grill or trying to just see how long something takes.
Yeah,
I also
I get that.
you know, everyone likes a chronograph complication. That's always just fun to play with. But when it comes to more mechanical chronographs, I still get a little bit hesitant of, worried about like, oh, is it gonna break when I push the chronograph this time? Like it seems like a more delicate movement, even though it may not necessarily be. But so as far as
That's
complications in
fine.
the movie, I tend to kind of stick to just more time only based ones, just kind of for simplicity of the movement. And if there's any servicing needed, it's something that can be done just about
Yeah.
anywhere. So,
I agree in some ways as well, where I love my chronographs, but it is nice to have a rotating bezel because if I forget about it, if it's like, oh, well, in 12 hours, I want to remember this, and then it
yeah.
goes 6 hours over, I don't feel bad that I just left my
Mhm.
chronograph running, you know?
Yeah.
So I definitely get that. I definitely get that. Oh, Watch Girl Life joined. Hello. Um, yeah, so what do you consider personally when buying a watch?
Um, really depends. I think the first thing that usually draws me to it is maybe just the way it looks necessarily.
Hmm.
So I think that's the first thing for everybody. Does it look good? And then you kind of start looking into the size of it, the specs, things like that. It's really helpful to try a watch on as well, which can be kind of hard to do, especially with some of the micro brands. But I found out that I flipped through watches a lot for a number of years there, where you buy something that looks super cool online, like it's got all the right specs and everything, and then you get it and you try it, it's like that's not quite how I thought it would
Like
wear. It's not what you
anything
think it
could
would be.
throw it off.
Yeah.
Is it too flat for the
Hmm.
lugs? Is there too much space between the lugs and the case? Does the strap look awkwardly put in? Like, is the bezel actually awkwardly hanging off of your wrist? I don't know. Maybe you deal with some of the issues a little bit less because your wrist is a little bit bigger. But I think with any watch, like you have to try it on. So I totally see where you're coming from there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um, do you have thoughts on modern versus vintage watches?
Not really just depends on the style. I mean, I've got like the modern looking aqua racer that I absolutely love, and I've got some more vintage looking ones like the seagull and the boulder has kind of a more classic field watch style.
Mhm.
So it really depends, you know. I don't
Yeah,
particularly go for one style over the other. Sometimes it's nice to have a bit of both. You know, one day you might be feeling like something cool, modern, you know, colorful, and then other days you just want like a simple black field watch.
it's
So
true.
bit of both.
Some days, some days I just want to wake up and put on one of my quartz Seikos
Yeah,
and just forget
exactly.
about it.
Mm-hmm.
So I definitely get that. What was the favorite Lego set that you've ever built?
Ooh, I don't know if that's a
Possible.
question that I answered. Yeah,
Okay, so some of the top ones then.
probably more Lego Technic sets are typically a little bit more fun. So I think one of the more recent ones is they came out with like the Lego Technic G Wagon, like the big version of it that's got like working suspension and transmission,
Really?
doors opening
That's awesome.
and everything. So things like that, they're it's like fun to build to kind of see the technique, some of the crazy unique building techniques that they have putting it together. And then
Mhm.
also we can have like a little bit of fun after you built it as well versus other ones that are just fun to build and then they become a display piece that you just kind of look at. But if you have something you can also play with afterwards, you know,
Do
it's
things
it
with
has,
that articulates. And
yeah.
yeah, that is cool.
There's one that they came out with recently that's like a little like it's like the little planetarium where it's like a rotating Earth around the sun and the moon spins around the Earth as you turn a little handle and they can kind of show you like actual moon phases based on the month and all
It
that. So
actually shows accurate moon phases.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
very cool.
It's just
I remember one time texting my friend who had a moon phase watch, and I was just like, "Hey, the moon looks full tonight. Is it full?" I was like, I'm texting him instead of Googling it because I'm just like,
yeah,
that's more fun. So imagine if you could just check your Lego set. Where is
right.
it?
Yeah.
Pretty neat.
Or-
Um, yeah, so are there particular watches that you love to pair with the Lego? Like, or is it just what you're wearing, whatever it may be?
That's usually whatever I'm wearing. So I
Mhm.
mean, sometimes an idea will just kind of randomly come to me if we're out somewhere. So I'll just like jot a quick little note down on my phone, like, oh, we'll do this and this into a scene,
Mhm.
and then if I get around to finding time to actually shoot it, I'll figure out how to actually make it work. But yeah,
Mhm.
isn't a particular watch that I like. I like the ones probably with bracelets more, just because I generally like bracelets more. But then you can also kind of, you know, you can take it apart. You can kind of take the end link out. You can kind of do a more dynamic scene where, you know, someone's one of the figures took apart the watch and they're running away with the end link or something like that. And, you know,
That would be cute. Also, I'm just getting some of my links back for a couple of my watches, which I'm really excited to start posting on Instagram again. And I'm just like, oh, well, maybe I should like do some Lego shots with it. I mean, Timepiece Love, who I did an interview with not too long ago, he does posts to promote like your figurines because it's so cool.
yeah, yeah,
He's fun and happy, you're fun and happy, so it makes sense. But yeah,
yeah. He just recently, I think he just had the figure that's going around that we named Bob. So before Robbie's got him right now in Canada. So before him, Jeremy
it
had
was
him and
Jeremy.
pictures with
That's why
him.
I was saying all that.
Yeah,
That's awesome. That's awesome.
it's way
Um,
around.
and then I was actually, so one of my buddies out here who does Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, he teaches the comp class. He's really awesome. He loves Lego and also always wears this super cool red GShock. And he's like, GShock needs to come out with a Lego edition of a watch. And I completely agree because they came out with a kind of cartoonized version of their watch not too long ago. You remember there was like it was going around where it was in blue with all of the little lines, but I think that he's kind of onto something with like we need a Lego themed watch.
They do. They do. It'd be a good collaboration for them.
Yeah,
So,
GShock and Lego.
yeah. Are they listening out here? They should be.
Yeah. Do you have any watches on the radar for the next acquisition?
Not particularly. So there is one that I kind of work occasionally with some smaller micro brands that will either send me a watch in to take pictures for them, or sometimes they'll just let me keep the watch in exchange for a couple pictures.
Mm-hmm.
So there's one that might be coming in the next couple weeks.
Ooh.
It's different than anything I've ever seen before, that's for sure. So I'm pretty excited to get that
Keep an eye
one.
on your Instagram.
What's that?
I'll keep an eye on your Instagram. Everybody should.
Mm-hmm. We'll see. I don't want to give it away just yet in case something falls through, but there is something cool. But I mean, otherwise, like I said, I'm not particularly looking for anything. But if something new comes out, I'm like, might try to get that.
Yeah. Very fun. Do you have a spouse or a partner?
Mm-hmm.
What are their favorite figurines? As I'm like pointing to all of your little figures. Do they have them?
I think she likes most of everything. I don't think there's a particular one. I mean, we've got, the classic Star Wars are always the good ones. We've got this.
Is that what she likes, the classic Star Wars? Or
those are always good ones, yeah.
Also, I'd love to show some of your mugs.
Oh, yeah.
Because you actually sell some Lego-themed mugs.
Yeah. I've got this one is the Panerai design one.
Nice.
And then I've got a GShock one that kind of seemed obvious, and then this is one that just stopped going on sale recently. So we did this one for like the Breast Cancer Awareness Month, where
saved a lot. That's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where's
the GShock one? Yeah.
The GShock one is that one.
Oh yeah, very fun. Is it metal instead of glass?
Yeah, these are. Mm-hmm. These are like the ones.
The tin ones. Yeah. And then there's one more mug we haven't seen, so you might as well show us.
That's the classic.
With your little figurine.
Yeah. So
cool. Does he have a name?
He did initially, but I honestly don't remember what it is. But so the one that's going around now is named Bob. So
named Bob. Well, hopefully I'll see Bob. But I like that your special figurine has its own little shelf there, bottom, ruling all of them. Yeah, is there any advice that you want to give to people that want to get into the watch world?
Yeah, it's hard to say really. I'd say probably the biggest one is don't fall for all the marketing probably, because a lot of people, they see all these hype watches that get promoted everywhere, and then they feel like they have to go get them. And half the time they end up being disappointed by them. So just, the advice that generally everyone gives is buy what you like, not what other people like exactly. So, if you like it, wear it. Doesn't really matter what anyone else thinks about it. So go with that.
And if there are watches that are more hyped that you actually really want, buy them and keep them. Like I have my Swatch Venus and I have my NASA G-Shock. And you have the original Swatch Omega collab that I wanted, which was the Mars.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah. I love that. Buy what you enjoy. Buy what you think is fun.
Yeah, those are usually the watches that kind of stick around for me. So, yeah.
Well, it was so good to get to know you more. Yeah, and absolutely. I hope we get to talk soon and meet in person one day.
Yeah.
And
if you're,
we'll talk soon.
We're around here.
Great. I'll see you around.
Good talking to you.
Take care.